everybody, it's Cash. Welcome back to Hollywood, California. Today I've got a really interesting day ahead. I'm going to look at the homes of some former stars in Hollywood. I'm also going to hopefully end up at the Chateau Marmont, which is where John Belushi died. It's quite a monument within Hollywood, so I'm going to see if I can get in there and have a cappuccino. That's my ultimate goal. But before then, I'm going to wander around and show you a mansion that Sam Goldwyn, the guy who started Paramount and MGM, that he lived in before he moved to Beverly Hills, to where Taylor Swift is now living. She lives in Sam Goldwyn's old mansion, but I used to live in the previous one. And so I'm going to show you that because it's really very, very interesting. And a bunch of other stuff along the way. Right now, I am in a place called Silver Lake. To my right here, I'm going to turn around so that you can see, to my right, you may recognize this building. That is where the final scenes of the movie Grease were shot. It's school, so I don't want to be the creepy guy outside the gates who is filming children. So I'm going to quickly move on. But somewhere down here, there is something really fantastic. You see those cottages there? They were the inspiration, it said, for the dwarf cottage in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I think they're made to look a lot older than they are. I'm sure that plasterwork could be fixed, but apparently this was the inspiration for the dwarf's cottage in Snow White. And how do I know that? Because they are just around the corner from what used to be Walt Disney's original studio from 1929, I want to say, till about 1940. The whole thing was knocked down in the 60s. Of course it was. Nothing of value or importance there. But this is where Steamboat Willie was produced, and where Snow White and Pinocchio were produced. In here is where Mickey Mouse was invented. The back of it is now a Thai cheese studio. But in Hollywood, you can go and stand on the very site where they made Pinocchio. There's now a supermarket on here called Gelson's, where, as far as I know, everything costs like $10 more than it does in other supermarkets. But over here, you can actually stand on the very spot where Walt Disney had his office. The entrance was here. The building went all around here. They knocked it down to make a parking lot. Joni Mitchell will be so proud. But yeah, it's either here, so we'll stand here, where this fancy car is, or it's the next one, but I think it's here. And I'm sure I wouldn't get any energy from this spot, but still, I find that absolutely amazing. Okay, I've summoned the Waymo. Oh, I'm so excited.
Hello, from Waymo.
Oh my lordy, this is like nothing I've ever experienced before. Yay! Thank you very much. Oh, there's nobody to thank. This, to my left here, where the removal vans are, this is where I lived when I first came to Hollywood at the start of my Hollywood heyday. It was a B&B, and it's the house, formerly, many years ago, of Sam Goldwyn, the movie mogul. It was a solitary mansion. I mean, there's another one here. I think W.C. Fields used to live here, or somebody like that. But it was a solitary mansion in just a vast expanse of orange groves and fields and stuff like that. There was nothing else here. And so Sam Goldwyn had servants, and I lived in the servants' quarters. It was eventually bought by one of the Rothschilds and renovated exquisitely. They did a great job. But when I was there, here, behind this hedge, I mean, I didn't live behind the hedge, I lived in the house, but it was pretty run down. And we had this really angry gardener who was a former heroin addict. And he was so furious at everybody and everything that he would build effigies, life-sized effigies of everybody in the house, right? and he would hang them from this tree over here. That big tree there, you see it? He would hang them from there in the yard. So there'd be all these life-sized effigies hanging from a tree. Back then, people went, oh, that's cute, that's neat. Now, there would be national news coverage. But it was just nothing. It was a really weird house. I can't go in, obviously, because somebody lives here. But I thought what I would do is I would just touch the building, because this is the original building right here. And I thought maybe I would just touch it and see what happened. The energy came out and encased me. Like a cello case. You know the case that a cello comes in, that big thing? Or a double bass. It kind of enveloped me. If you have lived in a place, you automatically leave a little piece of your soul there, never to be retrieved. And none of the people who've lived there since know who I am. They don't know I live there, but the house remembers. You can cover it up, you can paint it, you can renovate it, you can do whatever you like. But it's a bit like a dog who hasn't seen its owner for 10 years and then remembers the owner immediately. It has that kind of feeling to it. Yeah, it's like being encased in the energy of the house. Wow, I hadn't expected that. I thought it would have forgotten me by now. I'd come over to Hollywood because I had a book coming out, and I wanted to be here for that. Also, I had no career, no money, nothing, and I thought, I'll go to Hollywood and I'll give that American dream thing a try. So I arrived with 2 bags, just 2 bags, small bags, a visa, and this dream of possibly surviving in Hollywood and maybe getting on the radio here, or at a very, very, very far stretch, getting on TV. But that was it. I just arrived to see what happened. I put my entire faith in the universe. I threw myself on the good graces of the universe and said, if there's anything you can do, if there's anything I'm meant to do here, please help me do it. And it took a while for the universe to show up, but it did eventually. And things worked out. But I was so poor. I couldn't afford food. I couldn't even afford to go to Starbucks for a coffee or anything. Although I'll show you the place I used to go to and drink water. But what I used to do, I would come down the street here and I would go to the local supermarket, which I will show you. It's down here. And because I couldn't afford to buy coffee, I would go in and I'd smell their coffee. I would smell their coffee beans. There's actually a Starbucks here now, ironically. It's insane looking back, but it's the only way I could feel like I'd had caffeine without actually paying for it. I wonder if they still have them. I'm going to have a look. I went in and they don't even have roasted coffee beans anymore, so I couldn't reenact the experience. But the reason all this matters is because next year, I'll be 70 years old, I've said this before, but next year it will have been 30 years since I came here, since I arrived with 2 bags in Hollywood. I spent so much time wandering around on my own. I knew nobody, so I just wandered around the streets looking for money, looking for loose change. I was the saddest sack there has ever been. But I got mugged crossing the street. This is Fairfax Avenue, and I got mugged late at night crossing that street. A guy came up behind me and put like something metallic in my back and said, "Give me your money." And I had no money. I was penniless. And so I was holding a novel that had been written by a friend of mine. And it was terrible, absolutely terrible. And so I said, "Look, I got no money. I'm absolutely skint, man. But I've got this novel. You can have this. It's about lesbians and furniture." And I turned around and he'd run off. When I first came to Hollywood, I got this gig with the BBC reporting live to England. So I would do that, and I'd make a tiny little bit of money, and I would then be able to afford a coffee. So I would come down here to a place called Buzz Coffee. It later became a Starbucks. It's now completely closed, like so many Starbucks. But there's a Crunch gym up there, there's a movie theatre over there, and this was a hub, a really busy hub for so many actors, comedians, singers, whatever, who lived in the Hollywood Hills. They just come down here and grab a coffee. So you could easily see somebody really famous like 10 feet away from you, like Roger Daltrey was one, and Hank Azaria from The Simpsons. He looked very, very miserable the night I saw him. But, just people like that. And one night, Matthew Perry was another one who was like almost performing in here. He was jumping up and down and making a spectacle of himself. But one I particularly remember was Robin Williams. I was sitting completely alone, just making notes for something, I don't know what. There was nobody else in the place, and I looked up from my notepad, and there was Robin Williams in a kind of green onesie type thing, like coveralls. And I thought, oh, it's Robin Williams. So I look down at my pad, and I look up, and he's staring at me now. So I look down again and wait a little bit, and I look up, and he's still there, still staring at me. And he did this for the longest time. I became really self-conscious and really unnerved. And then I looked up a final time, and he'd gone. But he must have stared at me for 10, 15 minutes, I would say, in total. And I realized that he was doing like a character study for a movie of sad sacks. I must have looked so dejected and so alone. And you know that movie 1 Hour Photo, where he played a really, really creepy guy? I think he was studying me for that. Oh my God, this is it. This is the tree that I climbed out of the van alongside when I arrived in Hollywood for the very first time. I closed the door there. I walked along this sidewalk, which is very, very bumpy now. See, it's all buckling up here. And I went in here. The guy who owned it was a screamer. He was called Raymond Bilboul. They made a documentary about him, actually, because he had been the maître d' at a very, very famous dining spot called Chasen's in Hollywood. Frank Sinatra used to go there, Dean Martin. In fact, everybody you can think of in those days, 40s, 50s and so on, used to go to Chasen's. And he was the maître d'. He was famous in his own right. And he would serve breakfast here, but wearing a tiara. And he would go, oh my dear. He was a real queen, and very, very, very proud of it. Oh my dear. And he would just cock his leg up and do this with his face with his tiara on. What a guy. He was the first person I met in Hollywood. And I thought everybody was going to be like that. But they weren't in the end. But, well, many of them were. But no, Raymond was an absolute scream. And if you can catch that movie about him, I think it's called Last Days of Chasen's or something like that, you'll see him. When I was here, I walked these streets endlessly, every day. Nothing to do, no money, no prospects. But using the law of attraction every single day to change my fortunes. And after I'd done that long enough, people started offering me things. Come and work for us, come and do this. Oh yes, come and help out in our office. Or whatever it was very, very strange. And yet not. It was the law of attraction at work. And if you ever doubt it and you're in trouble, you can always read my book on the subject. But if you ever doubt it, if you're ever in trouble, that is a reasonably good way out, because you change your fortunes by changing your perspective on life, your attitude, and raising your vibration. That's what I did. And I think this is Dan Aykroyd's house, because it's just round the corner from where the House of Blues, the original House of Blues, used to be. And then it was just torn down. I've walked so far today I've got a tan, have you noticed? But this building we're coming up to is called the Colonial House. It's another one of those places that has been occupied, inhabited by so many celebrities and stars over the years, including right now Katy Perry. It's always Katy Perry. She has, I don't know how many properties in Los Angeles, including a convent, by the way, she owns. But she has an apartment here, apparently. And over the years, people like Betty Davis and Jamie Lee Curtis have lived here. So many different celebrities. I'm not quite sure what the appeal is, except that it's central. It's right down from the Chateau Marmont. So you've got somewhere to go in the evenings, I guess. And it looks fantastic. Look at it. It's really legendary in Hollywood. Okay, I touched it. Let's just see what comes. Oh, it's like I'm holding a flagpole. A really thick pole. Oh, this was another one of those places that was built to impress, to inspire, to attract. I'm here! This is it, come, this is the place. Oh, if that's the intention behind it, then that would permeate through history and would still be in the fabric of the building. So no wonder people are drawn there. Every effort will have been made to construct something that drew people in. So the Chateau Marmont is directly behind me. And before I go in and embarrass myself by trying to get a coffee in a place that clearly doesn't want me there, I should just say that it was built a very long time ago, like 1926 to 1929, by a lawyer. And I think the idea was that it would be a place that East Coast people could use when they flew to the West Coast. There are about 60-something rooms and suites and so on, and a bunch of cottages in the grounds. Remember when I had my TV show, I had to do an event in Hollywood. The production company put me up at the Regent Beverly Wilshire, which is a beautiful hotel in Beverly Hills. But Anthony Bourdain, who I was traveling around these events with, was put up in the Chateau Marmont because he insisted on it. Also, it's where John Belushi died, in bungalow number 3. He was taken away from here. That's actually how I heard of it. I'd never heard of it before. So this is an experience in itself, and it's one of those things that you should do once while you're in Hollywood. Not that I ever did, and this is the point. I never did it. I always wanted to do it, and I thought, well, I don't have any money, I can't afford it, I won't go in, and all these years later, I can now go in. So we'll see if they accept me. They may say, I'm sorry, no, please leave, you vagabond. This is actually really, really nice. I can see why people hang out here. This actually probably is the original wall. Let's just touch it for a second and see what happens. This is the wall. Oh, it's porous. It's porous in the sense that my hand sinks into it. Ooh, yes. Oh, it's exactly what I just said. It's kind of addictive. I can see why Anthony Bourdain insisted on coming here. It's addictive. This is like a set you belong to. This is a point of honor that you belong here. And the more you come, the more it grows on you. The deeper into the pillar your hand sinks. Yeah, I'm up to my elbow now. Ooh. Oh yeah, everybody's been through here. Because they all want to belong, and Hollywood is great at casting you out and making you not feel like you belong. A place like this helps you feel like you belong. Wow, even the restroom is classy and amazing. Look at this. don't know that I could ever fit in here. I mean, on my own, I'm great. But it wouldn't be good in a group. For me, it wouldn't be enjoyable to be in a busy room full of people with all the noise and the energy. So these treats, these joys, are taken away from me by virtue of what I can do. And it's a trade-off, really. Would I like to be without my ability to channel energy and have a normal life? Or would I rather deprive myself of the normal life and have this amazing ability to test energy? It's a balance, I know, but sometimes it doesn't seem like a balance. Sometimes you actually have to make a choice. Do I want it or do I not want it? I'm sure it's a muscle and I could let it go. I could just let it lapse and never bother with it again. But I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I do have that yearning for belonging. Just to fit in. Just to be accepted by people. Or more specifically, to allow myself to be accepted by people, which I don't do. Because as soon as I meet them, I feel their energy. And I see their pictures. And it's like, okay, off we go. There's no release from that, I don't think. No. After 29 years, I finally made it for lunch at the Chateau Marmont. I waited all this time, and I'm so happy. Yeah, this was worth the wait. So thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.